All right. Hello, everybody. This is Schmitty, another episode of Talkin Schmit. And today on the pod, we got an old friend from early days of podding. I was out in Cleveland, Ohio, and I hit this bro up, and together we did a non-video podcast. But today we're going to catch up and see what's new with the one and only Kristian Svitak.
Hey, Talkin Schmit. I'm already not watching.
It's cool, like tonight is the night.
Damn, this is like the coolest thing I'm ever gonna do.
I wouldn't say it was fun.
What do you mean? Well, Christian Fletcher's younger brother.
Fuck the Dodgers.
Big dog's in. What do you think, Talkin?
John, Schmitty,
Talkin Schmit.
Alpo macaroni.
Most of these guys, their opinion don't matter.
Talkin Schmit, right?
And skateboarding.
I remember that.
Talkin Schmit. What are Yuns doing?
Holy shit.
Skateboarding homies.
No, Schmit, you can't jump in.
What is happening?
Gregory.
Yes, we
Wi-Fi check 1, Wi-Fi check 2.
Hello.
Hello?
There we go. Look at that. Cleveland, we have admission.
Sorry, man. I'm so technologically challenged.
Well, that's why we're here today.
Yeah, I had to have my wife just help me get this worked out. So I'm trying to get like light over here so I'm not like this big shadow. Does it look weird or does it look
I think it looks great. You're popping.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. We got the Sinead O'Connor shirt on. We're about to fucking go in the backyard and plant some roses for mama.
Yes, exactly. Well, good to see you, man.
You too. How you living?
I've been all right. It's been a little rough lately. There's been my dog just passed away.
Ooh.
Yeah, he was 17 years old.
Damn, ours is like 13 and a half.
Yeah, man. So it's,
Heavy.
day in and day out. Like, you know what I mean? He's just always, yours just went by.
Yeah.
Is that yours?
Yeah.
It just crept by.
Yeah, she's crazy. She's got dementia and she's just, all she cares about is eating and sleeping at this point and staring at walls.
Yeah, that's kind of Oscar.
It's gnarly. I feel like, I don't know, a couple of people have lost their pets in the last year or so, and I'm like, fuck. I don't like to say I'm right behind you, but I am behind you at some point.
Well, I feel like for me, I sometimes blame myself a little bit because sometimes my friends would ask, like, what are you gonna do when Oscar passes away? And I'd always say, no, man, Oscar's gonna live forever. Like I didn't want to hear that, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And even for an old dog, he raged super hard. Like he still was a maniac. He still jumped up and down off the couches, couch to couch. Like he was a maniac. He'd bite you if he felt he needed to, you know what I mean? He was awesome. So he just seemed like, he almost seemed so invincible to me, and then when he finally passed, it was like, well, this only happened like 2 weeks ago.
Damn.
So it's been really hard on me and my family and everything. But
I can imagine. Yeah. So we got a little news that there was a growth on her kidney and it was growing and it probably wasn't benign. And so we don't know how much time we have. And my wife, Sharal, and I both dove into like, we're going to take her on trips. Like we just went to Yosemite. We drove down the 5 to San Diego. We stopped by Disneyland. We're just getting photos with her every second and enjoying every possible second.
Good.
There might be a little truth to the fact that a pet dog losing that is, we'll say, equal to losing a friend. But sometimes it feels harder.
I'm not like people. This is my first dog I've ever had. I've never had a dog before. So he was 17, but we had him for 16 years. 16 years. We got him from the animal shelter in Orange County. He came in as a stray. And when I hear people about like their dogs passing away in the past, I kind of, not that I was insensitive or anything, but I couldn't really absorb it because I've never been through that. But now having this little guy day in and day out for 16 years and now he's passed away, like I really, and my wife will agree with me, like we feel like we lost a child.
Well, they're there every time you walk in the door to greet you. They're there when you go to sleep. They're there when you wake up. Like there's a lot of they're there for. So it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. It's
Yeah.
and they're never talking shit to you. They're always just happy to see you.
I know, man. I know.
Fuck.
So,
Well, let's hear about what you got planned. There's a little podcast idea floating around or something over there. You're
I am
still in
trying-
Cleveland, by the way, right?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
We moved here 2 years ago. And let me raise my seat. Do I look little? So
No, you're killing it.
I'm not like good at this stuff, and
No, you're perfect.
I think that's
You're
what's-
even centered in the.
I'm trying to be. Oh, so here's another thing. When I'm talking to you, and I mean, I know I've done this kind of stuff before, but should I be talking to the camera or I'm looking at you on the screen, but does it
Yeah.
look?
I think that it's natural to look at the person you're talking to, and then just like when you film interviews, right? The people talking aren't always staring at the camera. They're staring kind of like to the side of the camera, whoever they're talking to. So it's natural not to be looking like right at the camera. But
Right.
if you're trying to make a point, like as you get more comfortable, you might be like, or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, I think just whatever's comfortable. I think the most important thing is it's going to take a while to feel comfortable being mirrored and looking at someone that's not there in person and all these different things with the screens. It's like Star Trek like came to us. So it took me a minute, and a lot of times when people haven't done this before, it's like the first part of the interview seems weird, and then you can almost feel that click where the comfort zone comes in, and then it's just like
Yeah.
friends talking. So
Yeah.
I think just try to stay out of your head. Don't be too like, am I cool? Am I cool? How's this work? And then also just see, like maybe do a couple of testers where you just film you talking to your wife downstairs if you have two computers or whatever,
Yeah.
and then get it back and watch it. And then we're skateboarders. We have so much fucking critique on ourselves, but try to put that down a little bit and just kind of think like, okay, I could do this better. I could do this better. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll shine a light into the corner and have some weird bat back there or just whatever. Like you could like
Yeah.
have fun with your backgrounds or whatever at some point if you wanted to. But I think the most important thing is what you're saying and who you're talking to and what you're talking about.
Right.
So if you're
Yeah.
going to do just podcast by yourself or if you're going to do interviews, the most important thing clearly is the audio, like the quality of the audio. So as long as there's not music in the background or like loud planes or just static or whatever, right? And so those things I would focus on, and then aesthetics, you'll just kind of, I mean, look at me, I'm just stickers.
Yeah. And I like it. You know what I mean? I like it, I think to your point, exactly. It's just, it all comes down to what you're really saying. Like that's the most important thing to me. But
Yeah.
you get a little kind of wrapped up. Like I don't watch too much television or anything, but I do watch sometimes late at night before bed I'll watch I like these podcast shows, things on music, right? Like there's this one guy does like the punk rock MBA or I don't know. I like learning about bands, but man, sometimes their stuff is just so fancy. And I'm like, I just get intimidated. I'm like, am I going to look like garbage just in my office here, or but
I mean, think of it like 1088 versus PAL, like Stacy Peralta had these huge cameras and this editing stuff, but you were stoked on the punk like rawness of what you were doing.
yeah,
Just stay true to yourself, like whatever you can pull. And in time, if you're stoked on it and something starts happening, you might want to invest more money into it. But it wouldn't really make sense to like just come out of the gates, like unless somebody was like, "Hey, Kristian, I'm gonna back you and get," because this shit costs a lot of money.
yeah. I did get this. I have this. It's not plugged in yet, but I even have like I bought a little mic here.
Yeah,
I don't know. I got to figure this out, but
I think all you do is just plug it into the computer, and then hit the on button. It might.
But for me to even find the on button, man, it's bad. But
Well, tell me what you're going to be talking about.
yeah, so it all goes back to I do this Instagram page. Do they call it a page? I don't know. An Instagram account called Cleveland Skateboarding.
Hmm.
And that started I think maybe it's been 3 years now. And basically it was me just wanting to do something creative. And I think like I had my own skateboard company for 10 years. And so my natural instinct, and I think for a lot of skateboarders, a lot of that first instinct is like, oh, I'm going to start a brand. I'm going to start a board brand or whatever. So these things, anytime that popped in my head, I was like, nope, like that is not, I have zero interest in doing that again. Right. And then my brain kept immediately going to, something that is, has a global reach or whatever. And all my ideas just kind of kept falling flat on their face. And I was just thinking of like, well, what really interests me, right? And what I kept coming back to is I have a super big interest, and I have a really good memory of the skateboarding scene in Cleveland growing up, right? Like going back to the 80s. I started in 88. And I skated with a lot of guys that were around since the early 80s. And so over all these years, when I get together with my friends, it just seems like I'm the guy that I remember all these stories, like the folklore and all these things. And we could go walking downtown Cleveland and I will point out like Bill Elliott did that, whatever, in 1995. And anyways, so I think it was a combination of that. And I have always been a huge fan of Discord Records.
Yeah.
Which is, Ian Mackay. And I believe he does that with Jeff Nelson as well. I think Jeff Nelson's part of that. But I've always had such a love for Discord Records and how they're just this record label that people love. And I've heard stories of bands that want to be on Discord Records, but Ian is always like, no, this is for DC bands, right? He's like, you should, you're not going to be on Discord Records. We're just trying to help promote local DC bands.
Right.
So from Salt Lake City, go start a record label in Salt Lake City and do it there. So I've always just thought that was a really cool thing that he or they do. So that entered my mind as well. I was like, I want to do something for Cleveland. I don't want to start a Cleveland skateboard company and nothing like that. And so then I just, and not to mention too, just my life with all the things I have going on in it, a family and all that stuff. It's got to be something that kind of comes easy, And so then I was just daydreaming the one day, and we used to have this skateboard shop in Cleveland. It was a bike shop, and it was called Schneider's Bike Shop, and it was Mr. Schneider was the guy that owned it. He didn't skate, but he was like our favorite. He was our favorite shop in Cleveland, and I was like, man, it'd be so cool to just start an Instagram account and title it Cleveland Skateboarding and just post Mr. Schneider's portrait over and over, like every day, just every day, post it. So like most people would be like, I don't understand this. But I'm also like, I've always had that love for the people, I think like myself, like those two people out there that get it. And you're like, oh, I get that. I like that. It started with that. And then it turned into like obviously it's got to be something better than that. And so basically what I've been doing over the past 3 years is trying to just shine a light on all these people over all the decades that have been skateboarding in Cleveland. I feel like I've lived in California for 25 years. I've heard all about Dogtown and Z-Boys a million times. I've heard all about the Bones Brigade a million times. I've heard about everybody's scene a million times. But the one I've always loved the most is the one that I came from.
Of course.
Never been anyone to document it. We've had local videos, but there's a couple people did some zines here or there, but in the 80s in Cleveland, there weren't photographers around. There weren't people with video cameras. So I felt like, well, I have a memory and I know a lot of people. So I'm going to start trying to track people down and get their story and try to with as much space as Instagram will allow me, try to write a really nice story shining a light on what they did or what they're doing. So I try to get people in the past. So the young generation is like, wow, no way. Like I didn't know this guy was from Cleveland and went on to do this, and vice versa. There's young people doing amazing things out there that now, like the older generation is like, wow, no way. Like that's so cool. Look what these young skaters are doing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing that for a while now. And, you know, sometimes it's only like a post a month. I try to really focus on the quality as opposed to the quantity of it.
Right.
And so that way I feel like when I do make a post, people take it seriously. It's not just going to be another piece of toilet paper, you know, and scroll on. So I think people know, like when Cleveland Skateboarding makes a post, they're going to stop and they're going to read it. Like this is something from the heart, right? But anyways, with that being said, sometimes when I track people down, I'm on the phone with them for 2, 3. I mean, one guy I was on the phone with for 4 hours. You know, he was a guy that I tracked back. I've never even heard of this guy, but he was a guy that I can trace back skateboarding to like the late 70s in Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
And we talked forever. And so I just started thinking, everybody's got to hear this. People have got to hear these conversations. And at the very least, we got to get them documented, right? And because I can't fit all that in an Instagram post.
Yeah.
So I decided, okay. And honestly, man, I have been trying to do this for over a year now of like, I guess I got to do a podcast, right? Podcast, record the video like you do, put it on YouTube. And then, hey man, if you're interested, there it is. And at the very least, maybe I feel that at the very least, maybe I can at least make a blueprint for someone down the road. Like maybe when we're all dead and gone, there's going to be some skater out of Cleveland that it has the creativity and the know-how or whatever and decides to make a proper documentary or whatever, right? And they can refer back to all these interviews and stuff I've been gathering and go, okay, we can piece this together. You know? So I mean, I don't have those abilities, but I think maybe someone will one day, you know?
And you'd be surprised at what you can learn on the fly too. I mean, I didn't go to school for anything I do. I always learned everything like, oh, fuck, websites. What are those? I'm going to learn that shit. And I just dove in, and it's like working on a car. Like you get a Volkswagen first because it's the easiest engine to, and then pretty soon you figured out where the radiator and all this shit is. And then you move to a bigger thing. And much like that, it would be something that you would do. And maybe if you got momentum, you get like an intern or somebody that wants to help. And these things can, I think the key to all this stuff is realizing it takes time, and how much time do you have and how much reward for your time do you want? In other words, like if 5 people are stoked on it and it takes you 2 hours a week, is that cool? Or like, do you need to like reach a certain amount of people to get a certain amount of stoke to keep doing it? You know, after a while, you kind of might get burned out on some of the stuff that you're super excited about. And just like everything else in life, I feel like the stoke is what fucking keeps us going, right? Like I need somebody to come in and be like, Schmitty, this is sick. Get that going, more of that or whatever. And you're like, fuck yeah, I appealed to you. Fuck yeah. And so that kind of shit goes a long way. And building your Instagram like you have, like, so you already have an audience, and having these social, I mean, Rob Collinson said it with Low Card. It's like all that stuff is free advertisement, and it helps so much in today's era where we didn't have that when we were kids, you know, like how the fuck are we going to advertise what we're doing? We have to buy an ad in the mag. Yeah, right. But now you just like build up a little network and start saying, hey, spread the word. And pretty soon you got like some loyal people. And I'm sure you'll have some important people come on that like have a following, and then that could build into some who are off the top of your head without thinking too much. What's a list of some like Cleveland skaters from all eras that like, you know, that would be people that you'd either have already reached out to or that will want to get a hold of?
Um, Immediately, I think one of the first people I want to get is this guy, Brett Turner. He's an older Cleveland skater. He's lived in Florida for a long time now. He used to work for some skateboard concrete building companies. I don't remember the name. But he comes to mind because when I talked to him on the phone, when I made an Instagram story about him. I mean, the guy just like he's got stories. He remembers everybody. I mean, going back to like the mid 80s, he's got a really good memory and he's enthusiastic about it. So I kind of right out of the gate, I'm thinking of him and a lot of the older people because I want to try to capture those older people's stories honestly before we're dead because I just feel like the world we live in at our age now, I feel like I'm constantly losing friends. So I want to try to capture that before we can't anymore. Tim Rigby from Ohio Surf and Skate, he was the owner of Ohio Surf and Skate for decades. I mean, that's gone now, but that guy brought in more pro skateboarders to the Cleveland area than anybody ever has, There's a guy, Rich Hamilla. He was, I did a story on him. He was the guy that before I ever even knew who he was, it was when I became friends with the older Cleveland skaters in the 80s, they would always talk about this guy, Richie. And I feel like every skateboarder of my generation in Cleveland has a similar story. Like, I've always heard of this guy, Richie. Richie was a guy that lived in the west side of Cleveland, in those old neighborhoods where it's like house, 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 house. And then he had a vert ramp between the garages, and so I always heard like he would, always hear the stories like he was the best. And, he never got sponsored or anything. I mean, Lucero, I think, gave him a couple boards at one point, but those are some of the few just right off the top of my head. I just want to capture the older stories first, before they disappear.
But in no way are you trying to do it in chronological, right? You're not like intentionally going like, well, skiing started in about 72 here. So we'll start with those guys, move into 75-ish, 80. Like it can bounce all around, right?
Absolutely. And I want it to bounce around just like the Instagram page. I bounce it around because again, I think I've had people come up to me and talk to me about how much they love the Instagram page. Like people send me really sincere messages all the time. And I think it's really cool to see. I see the people liking all the posts and the comments, and it's really interesting because I know a lot of these people, they don't know each other. Mm-hmm. You have like a 55-year-old guy on one end and an 18-year-old on the other end. And I can tell that they're both liking this stuff. Like, wow, like look, this guy did this in 84. And then and then, wow, this kid's putting out a zine right now, or, all the stuff that maybe not everyone would know about. So no, I don't want to just go in chronological order. I do want to capture, like I said, the older people's stories first, just so time doesn't run out on us. But I want to kind of jump all over the place to just show everybody, young and old, that there was a lot of awesome stuff that came out of Cleveland and that people might not ever otherwise know about. And there is still awesome stuff going on that maybe the older people wouldn't know, So, and I understand, I understand that it may be a small audience, right? It may just only appeal to skateboarders in Cleveland. It is interesting though. I have noticed on the Instagram account, there are some people like around the world that do follow it and like the posts. So I think that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to, shine a light on someone that I've been a fan of for over 3 decades, but maybe this person in England would have never known about him, but I don't care. Like, I don't care if the audience is big or not. I've always,
that's key.
Yeah.
I think once you start looking at numbers and caring what people say in the comments and all those kind of things, it can really get rough, you
Yeah.
know? And there's always somebody better to compare yourself to. So you're
Yeah.
always going to be lesser than somebody. And
Right.
I think just like, I mean, for myself in skateboarding, I was never a pro. I wasn't good enough, right? But my mentality was like, I want to learn tricks. So I was competing against myself. Like, if I could learn a Smith grind, then take the Smith grind to lip slide, like I'm progressing, right? And like, that's the same mentality I think that we're going to be successful with on any projects that we do, because Tommy in his mom's basement's going to come out of the woodworks and say you suck and all this crap and tear down everything. And it's like, dude, what have you done? Like, and who are you? So
Yeah.
who cares? Like,
Right.
at the end of the day, I'm talking to you and I'm stoked and I got a stamp of approval on this. Like, that's me, you know? And you'll have that same feeling like, dude, I felt so good talking to Tim Kerr of the Big Boys. Like, I fucking had a whole week where my mind was like, I never met this guy. He was nice enough to come on my podcast. I talked to him for a long time and he was sweet and charming and just full of all these rad stories. I didn't care who liked it. I was so stoked, you know? And I think that's the same thing. And that'll get you to be like, fuck, who am I going to do next? Like, that'll be your fire, you know? And I think like, as far as like what you were saying about Cleveland and stuff, I think that you're Kristian Svitak. You were a pro skater. You had company. Like, people know who you are, and there's a fan base for just you. So that will be outside of Cleveland because you've been everywhere. And so you might have a friend in England that's like stoked on you, and then he tells people, and that's just how networking works in our world now. And it doesn't take long for something that's good to reach people, you know? And so
Yeah.
if you stay true to what you're doing and keep it good, I think it'll be a success, you know?
Yeah. I hope so. I mean, like, for success for me
But
is just,
success for you, that's what I mean.
yeah.
Not successful in like, oh my God, now I can make a living off this. It's just like,
Right.
no, I'm doing something that I'm proud of.
Right. All I want to do is, get some history down for the people that are interested in it. That's it. And if it's 5 people, that is wonderful to me. But I will say that the thing that, I mean, we've talked about this, about me doing this podcast like a while back, and I still have it going. I got the computer, I got a fancy light here, I've got a microphone. I have all the ideas in my head, but my whole thing is that number one, I'm really technologically challenged. Computers and all this stuff really intimidate me.
Sure.
And I just get in my head about, people comparing. It's so silly. I don't know why I let this hold me back, but it's just one of those things of like, um, you know, uh, are people going to say like, oh man, his audio is terrible, his background sucks, his lighting sucks, like his intro sucks, like all these little things that I really don't care about, but it's those things that keep getting in my head that I really need to, and by you reaching out, this is really lighting a fire under my butt to like get this thing going. But it's those silly things that, and I already had a conversation in my head of like, you know what, screw it, just do it, whatever, just figure it out later. Just start getting these interviews down and getting them out to the world.
And I think to combat that, the best way to do it is, like I said, do a couple like 10-minute ones with your wife or your best friend that you're not going to use. You're just using to get your craft. And then you'll see what you did. You'll not only get more comfortable in the whole process, but you'll see what you like and you don't like. And then you'll get to a point where you're like, I got this. And then it doesn't matter. At that point, it doesn't matter what anyone says, because you're like, you don't like my intro? I'm going to put it on twice a day then. Fuck you. Like, I love it. And we're skateboarders that have put out video parts like of our shit. Like, that's so gnarly, like I have the Thrasher website that I don't know, 4.6, 6.4 million or whatever the views are on that shit. And every time I put a video out, I hear about like some bullshit, whatever. And it's like, first of all, these videos are free. So don't come here and watch them if you don't like them. And second of all, they're free. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And we're fucking providing entertainment for you. So shut the hell up. And so at the end of the day, like Jake used to tell me all the time, he's like, dude, there's going to be so many people coming after you. You have a job that everyone's envious of. Like people want your life and they're bitter. And so they're going to say some shit and you just got to let it roll off and be like, haha, on to the next. And I think like for all this stuff, I mean, I don't really have to tell you because like you've put out video parts and you've put out company videos and that same type of pressure is what you'll be feeling.
Yeah.
And it's always, even to this day, I'm like fucking 26 years into my life as a videographer. And I'm like, every time I'm like, it's done. You know what I mean? I never am like, it's done and it kicks ass. I'm like, are they going to like it? You know?
Yeah.
So that's just who we are, sensitive creatures.
And another thing has a lot of pressure on my mind it's hard for me to get over this first hurdle is that I've decided in my mind that the first episode is just going to be me talking. Okay. Because I just on the Cleveland Skateboarding Instagram, after I write everything, I just put my initials at the end, KS, right? So I think most people know that it's me, but I know there's a lot of people out there that have no idea it's me that do it. And because sometimes I run into someone at the skate park and I make some Cleveland skateboarding shirts and I'll be wearing one and someone will comment on it and we get to talk and they go, oh, that's you that does that? Like, I had no idea who does that. Or people will message me, whoever does this is really great. So I feel in that first episode, I need to introduce myself. I don't want, the thing that sucks is I don't want to talk about myself. But in that first episode, I need to introduce myself.
Yeah.
I need to explain like my history, my background, and then I want to go into like why I'm doing this and what to expect and my whole goal. Because the other thing is, it kills me to have to sit there and talk to a camera. Okay, like I have no problem doing this with you. Like interviews with people, I'm totally comfortable with, and doing the computer thing as long as I can see your face, or even if we're doing over the phone, I'm totally comfortable. But I was already picturing myself sitting right in this spot, in this room, looking at myself on the screen.
Yeah.
Staring at the camera, like, I'm just not that guy. You know what? I see my daughters watch, or any kind of like thing on YouTube, right? Where the guy's like talking. I'm just like, I can't do that. What if I start talking like those people? You know, those YouTube people, like, that button and like the whatever. I'm just like, God, what if my voice starts talking like that or sounding like that? I'm not that person. But I just feel like that needs to be done for all the people to kind of put it into context. The people that don't know who I am, they can go, oh, okay, I get it. As opposed to like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? And why does he think that he should have this podcast about Cleveland skateboarding, right? And for the people when we're all long and gone, that can look back on all these archives, can go, oh, okay, this is who this guy is, and this is why he did it, and he's, I just feel like I have to do that. So it's just so hard for me. Every day I think about it, like I should go up in the office and start trying to do this, and I find something else to get involved with. I'm just like, maybe I should go.
It's got to be kind of scheduled. Like you got to kind of like, hey, every Monday morning for an hour, I'm going to go up and fuck with it or whatever it is, whenever you're easy, your downtime or whatever.
Yeah.
I forgot that I am on Zoom and I only have a certain amount of time. Let me close this out and then send you another request because they only give me, I think only 30 minutes or whatever amount of time we were talking and it's about to run out.
Okay.
Blood Wizard. Blood Wizard. Blood Wizard. Blood Wizard! Shop.bloodwizard.com.
Tickety tack.
Hey, it's Corey at Blue Plate, 3218 Mission Street. Come see us. Meatloaf, fried chicken, deviled eggs, Dollar Olympia beers. We're here every day of the week. We got a garden and we got smiles on our faces. Come let us make you happy.
Yes, now we're back.
Okay, and we're back.
Computers, man. I missed that boat, man. Let's just say I missed that boat.
Well, you can fix a vacuum cleaner and an air conditioner, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough. But what were we talking about?
Just kind of like getting your feet wet. I think to be honest, like it's no different than anything else in life. Like you do something new, you're nervous and you're putting yourself out there. And I guess the two things I would recommend is getting to a comfort level with yourself, like a little repetition before you do anything, like just practice doing a couple. And then also have somebody, I mean, is Mike V a good ears or eyes? Like somebody that you know this person's a little critical, but they're a good friend. Hey, what do you think of this? And then like, oh, I mean, I'm happy to listen or look at it too. But just like somebody that you can trust that like I'm a little nervous. I think this is good, but I don't know type feeling. And then if a couple of people are like, this is great, then that can go a long way too.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many steps to it that are so, daunting to me. I have all the ideas in my head, man. I could get on the phone and talk with someone and have a really great conversation and get so much interesting information and all that. It's just like if I'm working on something else and I have a board graphic design or a t-shirt design, I have all the creative ideas in my head. I just don't know how to make it work in this world of computers. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I wish I had was, I mean, I would love to just do these interviews and then give them to somebody that was good at like, and editing and getting it all the other stuff but, yeah, I mean, I don't know, like it's something that maybe there's kids that want to work with you and they're good at a certain thing that you could have them help you for whatever, a cheeseburger once in a while or something. I don't know.
Do you do all your stuff yourself?
Yeah.
And I mean, your stuff looks great. You know what I mean? Like it looks, I got like intimidated. What's watching one of yours and you got like you're like a border and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, it's like, how does he do this, man? I don't know how to, like, it's just so bad. I look at you wearing headphones. I'm like, do I need headphones? Like, what is that for? I don't know.
Well, here's the thing is when you're doing the recording, because I'm recording this.
Yeah.
So if I was recording this and I didn't have headphones, it would be getting the audio and then there's like a little delay of the audio coming out the speaker. So then it's just like, and it feedback and crazy. So if you put headphones on when you're recording, it'll just help the recording quality be better.
Okay. And then I look like you have like these nice headphones on. Do I need those or can I?
No, you can wear, whatever.
I don't
These
know.
are just more comfortable for me. The buds that go in my ears, like after an hour, I'm kind of like, I don't know. They're just to each their own though, like comfort level.
Or, I got this nice little light. I'm like trying to figure out my lighting situation. I'm like, okay, but then sometimes I have to put my glasses on.
That's a hard part. Yeah.
Is this thing? Are people going to be like, that's weird? Are people going to be like, oh, what an amateur, man? He's got like light reflection in this glass.
I think you're overthinking it. Yeah.
I know I'm overthinking it. I'm absolutely overthinking it. But I am absolutely excited about trying to get, these people recorded and get their stories told, So I need to make it happen.
Yeah, dude, just dive in and fucking go for it.
I am, man. After that last time you were sending me that info. Last time we talked, you sent me all that info on like the platform to use. My wife's been helping me with all this because she's a lot smarter than I am.
Mm-hmm.
But I did like I got all that set up. We did like a little test run. She went downstairs. We did this stuff, but it's like without her, I'm lost, man. Like it's that bad.
You got to go P-Stone style.
What's Peastone style?
Take some notes, Schmitty. You got this. Just write it down every step of the way. Come on. Let's go. You got it.
And you have him dialed down, man. That was good. I know, man. I know. It's so bad. But I'm almost there. I'm almost there.
Well, dude, just like everything else, utilize your friends, hit me up if you got questions. I already told you I can try to help you along the way as you get one step closer. It might have a new question. And that's how, again, that's kind of how we get through a lot of stuff is just trying to there's tutorials on YouTube. Like if you Google anything, it'll come up like, how do I connect this? It'll be like, here's a tutorial, you know what I mean? And, yeah, I think the best way to do it is just to dive in and try and then see what came up short for you. Like, fuck, this part doesn't make, and maybe the first ones are just 15 minutes or something just to not have that huge amount of stuff to go through, just until you're getting your rhythm. And then you have more, dude, when I first started doing these, I had no confidence that we were even being recorded. I'd be like, is this thing record the whole time? I'm like, I hope this recording. Fucking Sammy Afeng just told me how he wrote that song. I'm going crazy over shit. And then after a while, you're just like, I got this. It has to, I mean, it's work every time. It's working, and so the comfort level will just come over time.
Yeah. That keeps going through my head too, because I know, like I said, sometimes when I have talked to these people on the phone, our conversations are an hour, 2, 3. And I'm like, well, I'm going to have my wife right here. If something pops up on the screen and says, you're running out of time, do this or what
Yeah.
I'm going to be lost. And then I have to tell someone hey, I know we just talked for 3 hours, but can we do that again?
Yeah, no,
So,
I know, dude. And those are the learning lessons. The only thing I could say about that is you'll never, or hopefully you'll never make that same mistake again, because it'll burn you hard when you're having to hey, can we do this again? And then after you're completely done, you're like, whatever just happened never is going to happen again. I have to learn. That is bullshit, So I think
how many episodes have you done?
I think 221 or 2 or something.
Wow, man. That's impressive.
Yeah, dude, it's just something that really helps me. I think that this is really therapeutic for me. Your thing may be more information based and helping your scene and stuff, but mine at least started just helping me through the pandemic and reaching out to people when I couldn't see people in real life.
Yeah.
And then hearing just about I want to hear about your background, but usually there's 1 or 2 things I don't know that I want to ask you. What was it like that one time you did that thing? Dude, I always wanted to ask you, why'd you pick that song or, something like that. And so it's not only am I getting to spend time with some people I admire that most of the time I consider friends, but I'm trying to learn a little bit about them and just get to know them better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's cool. That's what's kind of, and to be honest, dude, having a Brian Sieber or Aaron Meza, there's dudes in my life that text me and say, I really like that. And that just melts me every time. I'm like, fuck, that's so sick. People that I respect are saying, I like what you did.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That and my whole thing with, that I've been doing the Cleveland Skateboarding Instagram account, man, it's when I write something about someone that, maybe people haven't thought of in 30 years, you know what I mean? And then I can dig up all that information and write something. And then someone will message me that I don't, maybe I don't even know this person or whatever, but they're reading it, they're checking out, and then they message me and I'm like, man, that is so awesome that you know, brought this attention to this person. Yeah, it's that kind of stuff. I'm just like, man, that's awesome. Makes me feel good, and hopefully is making other people feel good that, um, especially for as big as skateboarding has gotten and all these different people have achieved all these things, to think about all the people that have worked just as hard and, from the young guys putting on nonprofits in Cleveland, raising money to build a skate park or, doing this and doing that, or these guys that were doing whatever in the 80s that ended up having an influence on multiple generations that people have no idea of. I don't know what I'm kind of going off a little sideways here, but basically, yes, what we're getting at is those little things that we do that maybe the whole world doesn't, isn't, jumping up and down for joy about, but it's those things that,
From the heart, for sure.
yeah. So anyways.
Well, you wanna get a couple want to do a little this or that with me?
Absolutely.
Okay, pie or ice cream?
Oh, Jesus. Ice cream, dude. I've been eating. This is going to sound real bad, man, but I have been eating a bowl of chocolate ice cream. Okay. I get chocolate ice cream and I buy dark chocolate baking chips. Bowl of chocolate ice cream, handful of baking chips, throw it in the ice cream, mix it up. I've been doing that, a bowl of that almost every night before bed for maybe the past 12 to 13 years.
Your metabolism must be insane. How do you stay like you're not a big?
I don't know. I don't know.
Huh.
My heart's just probably going to explode one day. I don't know. Yeah, ice cream.
Okay. Root beer or Dr. Pepper?
Damn, dude. Depends on where I'm at. If I'm in Burger King, it's got to be Dr. Pepper. I think, yeah, if I'm in Burger King, it's got to be Dr. Pepper. If I'm anywhere else, probably root beer.
Golf or mountain biking?
I've never golfed in my life, so I guess mountain biking.
Rap or reggae?
People are gonna get so mad at me, man. Can I just say neither? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Punk or metal?
What?
Punk or metal?
Can we do crossover?
Yeah, what's a crossover?
Well,
DRI?
yeah, yeah. I've always feel like when I started meeting other people as I got older, I found that a lot of the music I would listen to was a lot of my diehard like punk friends would always be like, that's not punk. You get those people that no matter it's like nothing's good enough for them. It's not core enough for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a long time as I got older to realize, like, I started listening to underground music in 1988, and that was like the heyday of just a blender. You know what I mean? So absolutely do I love all like the traditional punk out of the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
but I also loved a lot of metal. And then in the 80s, it was like this. And I'm a product of that, man. All these bands that just threw it all in a blender and it was crossover. It was like, is it like punk, hardcore, metal? Like, I don't know. But there also wasn't, at least where I grew up, we didn't have a lot of labels on things. So we threw everything into either we just called everything punk rock or we just called it all underground music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Well, how about this? Ramones or Black Flag?
Black Flag. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Ramones, but
no, it's tough. Yeah. OJ wheels or Spitfire wheels?
man, I haven't rode either in decades. But as a kid, I really thought OJs were sick. like in the 80s.
Hmm.
In the 90s, Spitfire became like the thing. I rode a lot of Spitfires. Um, Man, dude, you're stumping me. You're probably gonna make people mad at me, man. I don't know. I haven't ridden either in a long time, so I'm not basing this off of quality at all. I'm sure they're both fantastic wheels.
What are you riding?
Street plant wheels.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. Which are actually, I don't know if you remembered, I had a company called Landshark wheels
yeah.
for like 10 years. It's the same formula. When Mike started, he wanted to make street plant wheels. He was like, Svitak, what did you use for Landshark? And I was like, this is what I used. So the street plant wheels are essentially Landshark wheels.
Oh, okay.
Um, but yeah, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna say this is just for nostalgia's sake.
Hmm.
Early off of nostalgia. I'm gonna go with OJ.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
What's one of the best things you saw Mike V do in person?
Are we talking skateboarding or just in general?
Yeah, skateboarding.
Man, I'm trying to think of a specific thing,
And
but
just a quick, while you're thinking, this is also some factual information right here. Alyssa Steamer, one of her favorite vert parts is Mike Vallely.
absolutely, absolutely. Is she talking about the rubbish heap one?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, me too. I think that is one of the best vert parts ever. You know what, man? I feel like I have seen Mike do a lot of amazing stuff over the years. I mean, I've traveled with him for decades.
Exactly. Yeah.
That guy would blow my mind literally almost every day. Like every day he would do something he would start trying to do something and I'd be like, I'd always turn to whoever we were with, touring with. I'd be like, dude, he's not gonna like this. There's no way. And he does it. He does it.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I can't think of any specific thing, but I have seen him do so many nutty transfers from ramp to ramp and bouncing off a wall in between or whatever that yeah, I his skating live and touring with him is the gnarliest live skating like I've ever seen, and like consistently someone that can do that day after day after day after day after day.
He's a beast.
Yeah, a beast. And he like I feel like he was one of the first people I started touring with consistently. So I always when I had 1031 skateboards, I always felt like um he showed me at a young age of like it was his influence on how I would then tour and how I would expect a team to do a demo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'd always be like, all this stuff of when I would hear stories of guys just like not skating at a demo and like smoking weed and like just slacking off and being late to demos and all this stuff. I was like, no, man, like you're on time. You drive 8 hours, you get out and you see Mike V bounce off walls and do crazy transfers. And you're like, okay, this is the bar he's setting. Like I have to do this.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, there's just two, I can't think of anything specifically, but there's a lot.
Well, this might be easier or harder, I don't know, but at Thrasher we have a video category called My War, and it's basically like something gnarly that maybe
I've seen that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I've seen it.
in your whole career, if someone was like, Svitak, we want to do a My War with you, and you have to think like how hard it was for you to do. It was probably pretty gnarly, and maybe you took a gnarly slam or two in the process. Like, does something come to mind that you're like, dude, there was this thing, or maybe you went back a couple of times because you couldn't even get it for a while or whatever?
Yeah, it was the Fountain and Vine ledge. I had the contents spread in Thrasher. Burnett shot it, the front blunt down the hubba.
Uh-huh.
That's the one I knocked my teeth out on. And Thrasher did a Hall of Meat on that years back. Burnett did a Hall of Meat on it.
Oh, okay.
You guys have it on your
Yeah.
website. That would
Uh,
absolutely be it.
okay.
Because I knocked my teeth out. That was like 99. And I went there to shoot it with Ted Newsome. I was going to front blunt it back then. Ted wasn't there yet, and I was warming up. And I was doing lip slides to warm up. And that's when I knocked my teeth out. So then that ledge just haunted me for years. And then I finally went back sometime in the early it was for the 88 video. Remember 88 footwear?
Sure.
Yeah. For that video part, it was my ender, and Burnett shot it.
Oh.
And that was like, I mean, I finally did it, but that was my war, man. Like
Yeah.
the front teeth going in my lip, split my chin open, all that. And then going back and, and the ledge is in Hollywood. It's on a main road. You get 2 pushes. Not many people had done much. There's a long set of stairs. The ledge was only that wide, and it was like this, that was.
What did you do that night? Did you celebrate, or did you just go to bed like exhausted from the thought of it finally conquering it?
Yeah, I probably didn't do much because celebration.
Chocolate ice cream.
It was probably chocolate ice cream. Like, see, that's not an exaggeration at all. It probably was that. I don't drink anything. I don't party, so it was probably like, yay, I did it. Let's go eat ice cream, probably. But to that, Burnett told me, and I don't know if he remembers this, but we were all planning on that being my cover of Thrasher. But what happened was that same month, Skateboarder magazine came out, and Patrick Melcher had the cover on Skateboarder. I think he was doing a hurricane down the ledge.
Oh.
And then I guess Burnett and Phelps were like, we can't have the same spot on the cover in the next month.
Yeah.
So they gave me the content spread instead.
So many things behind the scenes that go into these things that people don't realize. It's insane.
Yeah.
Well, dude, where can people catch your Instagram?
It's titled Cleveland Skateboarding.
All one word?
Yeah, Cleveland Skateboarding.
And so at some point when the podcast comes out, you'll probably start advertising it there. I'm guessing it'll be called Cleveland Skateboarding Podcast or something, yeah?
Yeah, yep. And
send me some info, and when it comes out, I'll let all my listeners know. Maybe we can get a little plug or something that just goes in. It's like Cleveland Skateboarding with Kristian Svitak. Chocolate ice cream.
Yeah, that would be great, man. That would be great. There's a lot of great people that have come out of Cleveland to do really interesting things, and there's been so many like team managers, I mean, people that have done a lot of stuff.
Was Ohio Dave from there?
Oh, I did a thing on him. Yeah.
Sick.
Vans team manager, iPath team manager, Tracker team manager. He started in the warehouse at Transworld.
They're doing iPath again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if he's involved, but I know Kenny Reed and Matt Field have been brewing something.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Dave is from there. Brad Staba.
Yeah, Staba.
I babysat him.
Yeah.
Brad, I mean, Brad is literally from my neighborhood. Like,
damn.
From my neighborhood. I've known him since he was a little kid.
CJ, right?
CJ, Cyril Jackson.
Trying to get CJ on my pod. It's been a minute. He keeps saying yes, but then, like, we'll see.
Oh, man. He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people that have done a lot of stuff, and I think even if it doesn't like appeal to a huge audience, the other thing that I think is really cool about it is I think about a kid like CJ, right? He was from a really rough neighborhood when he came to Cleveland as a kid. He lived on the east side of Cleveland, a really rough neighborhood, and then he moved to a rough neighborhood on the west side of Cleveland. But I think about his story and okay, so he's been off Baker for quite a long time now. And there might be a lot of kids that just started skateboarding, in the past couple of years that maybe have no idea who CJ is, right? But now what I'm hoping to be building is something to where if a kid just started started skating last week, and he's from, West 85th or whatever, where CJ grew up, and they can look and go, oh my, wow, there was a kid from my neighborhood that went on to be a pro skateboarder. Or there was a guy from my neighborhood that went on to be the team manager for Vans.
Right.
You know what I mean, I just think that I think that's important, man. I think it's important for not only young people but all people to kind of see these examples of people that are living right under them, that are from their neighborhood, that walk those same streets. Because Cleveland, growing up in Cleveland, can be a very daunting place. It could really make you feel like, nothing special can ever happen to you because you're from Cleveland, and that's not true at all. So, yeah, I like thinking that there are people out there that go, wow, no way. If that person can become the Vans team manager, or can be a pro skateboarder, or go on to be a photographer, or whatever, that, well, shoot, maybe I can do something too, So
I like it, dude.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, dude. Just keep me in the loop, and if you have questions or something, it sounds like your motivation is there, but your willingness to like dive in is timid. So I would just say treat it like a fucking marathon where you have to jog for a block and then walk
Yeah.
for a block. Like you're not going to just run the whole marathon right out of the gate. So just get your feet wet and get it going, and then let's see what happens. Hopefully, you'll get an episode and you'll reach out and we'll be
I'm afraid to
fucking-
make mistakes right now. That's the point I'm at, is I'm afraid to start walking and fall, and I just need to do that.
We're too old to be afraid of making mistakes.
I know.
It's already behind us. We've already like lived the life. Now we're just here to like you said, it's like you're just trying to do something good for your community, for this other person, whatever. It's just giving yourself of this. So it's like, if you want to critique that, that's on you. Sorry that you're having such a rough life that you have to critique me when I'm just trying to do something cool.
Right. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I don't know why I have this stuck in my head, but I've always been a firm believer that, and I tell this to when I meet kids, I honestly am a firm believer that skateboarders can do anything. They can do anything. Like, because when I have someone come up to me that's a young person, they're like talking about, they want to do this or do that as a career, but they're scared or they're intimidated or whatever. I always say to them, like, think about what you do a day in and day out. You put your life at jeopardy, right? You literally constantly you're falling and getting back up, and you're physically hurting yourself. You're afraid to go to school to like learn to be a whatever, you know what I mean? Or you're afraid to go to that job interview and like get that job. Like, are you crazy? Like, look what you do, dude. Like
Exactly.
Skateboarding's really, really scary. And every time we go out, we get annihilated. Like we get really hurt. And we know it's going to happen. So
Right.
I don't know. It's totally silly. You're absolutely right. I don't know why. It's just the technology and just, entering this world that so many other people have mastered with flashy podcasts and this and that. It just intimidates me. And I just want it to be right, man. It's like when I finally get it going and I'm getting these stories out of people that it's maybe their first time to ever tell their story, and it's going to go in the history books. I just want it to be right for them too, So, but no, thanks for kind of staying on me with this. It's been a motivator, man. Like when I told my wife that you wanted to have me on the talk about this, I'm like, oh, dude, I've got to get this going, man.
Hey, I'm going to be like the annoying little kid in the back seat of the car. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Is it done? Is it out yet? Is it out yet? I'll just start texting you. Is it out yet?
I need that, man. I really do. Seriously.
Well, I got you.
Well, thanks.
Repetition equals execution.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
And I'm no fucking pro. Like, dude, I just wing it anyway. Like, it's not
Well,
like
you're doing a good job, man. You're doing
you
a
just
real
got to
good job.
sell yourself that you're doing a good job. I think that's the whole thing is like, I got this.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, yeah, dude. Well, yeah, stay in touch and just let me know how I can be of help.
Okay, for sure, man. I appreciate it.
All right, kids. This is Kristian Svitak. And if you want to hear more about his life, you can go. I don't even remember, but I feel like it was like episode 21. It was like the first year or two that I had him on when I was in Cleveland for my first and only time I've ever been to Cleveland. So that was cool. We met out by the lake and there's a little sign that says Cleveland in cursive. And we just recorded it in a rental car. So I'll put a link to that in the description. And I'll keep you posted on any development that happens with Kristian in the future for his podcast, because I know I'll be subscribing and you should too.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thanks, Kristian.
Thanks, Schmitty.
Take care.
All right, man. You too.
Bye-bye.
Later.
And now, a word from our sponsor, Oro Coffee. That's some damn good coffee. Order 1 or 6 bags at orocoffeeroasters.com.
Y'all like music? Because you're listening to SMFM.
What's up? We're back, good people. We're back on SMFM on Talkin Schmit. And there are a lot of bands throughout the world, a lot of bands all over, you know? I'm going to do my best to bring as many of them as I can to you. There's no end in sight with this jammer, all right? With that, there is a lot of bands, but there is only one band called Fire is Murder, who are from New York City and who wrote a song called Daisy Chain. And it goes like this. Raw power from Fire is Murder from the streets of New York City. They're playing a lot. You can catch them. And if you like what you heard, you can follow them to learn more on Instagram at fire_is_murder_official. Support these bands. These are bands that want to play for you. All right? Get you fired up. Get you stoked out. And let's keep it going. I'm here, you're here, we're here. I hope you're watching this or listening to this at a skate shop or on a bike or in your car. What have you. I'll see you next time. I love you. Peace.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Talkin Schmit. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. When you subscribe, you'll get notifications every Tuesday of new episodes the minute they become available. Also, please leave reviews and a 5-star rating. It's the best way to help the show grow. All of the episodes will always remain free, but if you would like to help support the show, you can do so at TalkinSchmit.com, where you can pick up some merchandise like t-shirts, beanies, hats, and stickers. The website has an entire archive of all of the episodes, with extra photos and videos. Email us with any suggestions, comments, or ways that the show may have improved your life at talkinschmit@gmail.com. All interviews are conducted, edited, and produced by Schmitty. The intro music is Mary's Cross by the band Nature. A very special shout out goes to the executive director, Sharal Camisa.
Shout out.
Love it!
This is Talking Schmit, where the Rolodex is deep, but the conversation is deeper.
Keep the wheels greased.